talking about here on my channel right now. It's all about Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's.
Hi besties, I am Zuriyata Bashan Lashari with Corevanta. Today we should discuss
The rush hour of Hollywood gossip just turned into a courtroom thunderstorm. Because this isn't just another story about celebrity feuds or social media shade. This is about something deeper, darker, and far more dangerous. A Hollywood A-lister, a director once adored, and a judge who just made a move that could rip the mask off everything we thought we knew. The words are simple, but the impact is massive. The judge wants the audio unsealed. And those few words sent a ripple through the entertainment world louder than any red carpet headline. Blake Lively, the name that once defined glamour, wit, and the golden girl of the screen, is suddenly standing on very shaky ground. The same woman who played queens and icons on screen now finds herself cornered in real life. Not by a villain in a script, but by a legal system determined to expose what's real and what's performance. According to insiders, this latest court order could be the turning point in the ongoing war between Blake Lively and director Justin Baldoni, a case that's already torn open questions of power, manipulation, and credibility in Hollywood's new moral battlefield. What began as a quiet feud hidden beneath smiles and public statements has evolved into something far uglier. A courtroom chess match where every move could destroy reputations and rewrite careers. And at the center of it all, a mysterious audio recording Blake reportedly used to claim she was threatened. But now, the judge has spoken. The people deserve to hear it. No more secrecy. No more selective storytelling. The audio will be For months, Blake's team has painted a vivid picture. One where billionaire financier Steve Sowitz, a co-founder at Wayfarer Studios and a known supporter of Baldoni, allegedly made verbal threats against her, enough to make her fear for her safety. She told the court this audio would prove everything. Proof that she was being harassed, proof that she was being intimidated, and proof that the people behind Baldoni were willing to go to any lengths to silence her. But now, the reality check hits hard. Was that really the truth, or another Hollywood illusion crafted to protect a falling star's image? You see, this isn't the first time Blake's claims have fallen apart under scrutiny. Many still remember the infamous slow dance footage. The supposed smoking gun that was meant to show inappropriate behavior from Baldoni, a scene Blake swore was uncomfortable, invasive, and proof of misconduct. But when the full context was released, the unedited footage showing her rehearsing under clear professional direction, it told an entirely different story. There was no tension, no threat, just a director instructing his lead actor, adjusting her movements, explaining blocking, making sure the camera hit the right angle. It wasn't predatory, it was procedural. And when that evidence dropped, public sympathy began to shift. What once looked like a cry for justice suddenly looked like a performance gone too far. So now, with this new audio about to go public, the stakes couldn't be higher. If it truly contains what Blake says it does, a billionaire verbally threatening her, it could end careers. But if it doesn't, if it's just another exaggeration, another carefully edited or misunderstood piece of evidence, then the fallout will be catastrophic for her. Because unlike before, this isn't social media. This is a federal judge demanding transparency. This is real. This is the kind of moment that can flip power overnight in Hollywood's war of perception. Sealed. The courtroom sources say the recording allegedly features Sowitz in a private conversation discussing the ongoing legal tensions, perhaps even mentioning Blake by name. Though some insiders now claim the clip may not have been about her at all. Some even suggest Blake's team misinterpreted or cherry-picked a few words to sound more sinister than they were. A tactic that's not new in PR-driven lawsuits. You amplify the drama, you weaponize ambiguity, and you hope the narrative hits first before the truth does. And for a while, that seemed to work. Blake's portrayal as the targeted victim of powerful men gained traction in certain circles, especially among those eager to see her as the next Hollywood woman standing up to systemic abuse. But when the evidence keeps falling apart, people start to wonder, was this about justice or about control? Behind the scenes, Justin Baldoni's camp has stayed relatively quiet. Not because they're scared, but because they know what's coming. According to a source close to the production, Baldoni has nothing to hide from this audio being released. His side reportedly welcomed the judge's order, calling it a win for transparency. In contrast, Blake's legal team fought tooth and nail to keep it sealed, claiming privacy, context, and emotional distress. But, as the judge noted, the public's right to access outweighs the plaintiff's discomfort. Those words echoed through the courtroom like a verdict itself. It wasn't just a procedural ruling, it was a statement. A message to the entire entertainment industry that you can't play the victim while silencing the truth. And yet, the tension doesn't stop at the courtroom doors. Hollywood's media echo chamber is already in overdrive. Fan accounts are dissecting every move, Twitter threads are buzzing with speculation, and entertainment reporters are circling like hawks. What's on the tape? Did Steve Sowitz threaten her? Was it even about Blake?
I don't
Could
think
this
I relate to
undo
any
her
of my
entire
characters.
case?
I've played a
Questions
crack addict
multiply
from
faster than
Boston. I played
answers.
an Upper
And in the
East
digital
Side
age,
princess.
perception is reality. For Blake, every hour that passes without clarity is another dent in her armor. There's also a psychological element here that can't be ignored. If this audio proves underwhelming, if it turns out to be harmless office chatter twisted into something darker, it will reinforce a growing narrative that Blake weaponizes victimhood when cornered, that she turns fear into leverage. And that's a dangerous image for any actor, especially one whose brand relies on trust and relatability. Once the audience starts to doubt your authenticity, Hollywood turns cold. PR teams can spin stories, lawyers can craft arguments, but audiences can smell inconsistency like blood in the water. Meanwhile, the courtroom spectators that day described Blake as visibly tense. Her usually calm demeanor was replaced with a quiet anxiety, tapping her fingers, avoiding eye contact, whispering to her attorney as the judge read the order. For someone used to controlling the narrative, this was new territory. Because when evidence is unsealed, the truth becomes public property. No filters, no edits, no narrative spin. And here's where the irony hits hardest. For months, Blake's camp has accused Baldoni's side of secrecy and manipulation, of hiding documents, controlling press, and burying the truth. But now, it's her team begging to keep files locked away. It's her side fighting for privacy while the other says, let the people hear everything. In a world obsessed with optics, this reversal says more than any statement could. Industry insiders are already whispering that this could mark the beginning of Blake's professional unraveling. Studios are quietly distancing themselves, endorsement offers have slowed, and her once unshakable reputation for being Hollywood's sweetheart is showing cracks. Because this case isn't just about legality, it's about credibility. And if that audio betrays even a hint of manipulation or misrepresentation, there may be no coming back. But let's rewind for a second. How do we even get here? How did a beloved actress and a once celebrated director end up in one of the most heated public disputes in recent entertainment history? It all began during the production of their film together, a passion project that promised to be a major hit. Sources say creative disagreements began small. Artistic clashes, personality friction, scheduling conflicts. But those disputes reportedly escalated into something more personal. Words were exchanged, alliances shifted, and by the time the film wrapped, the tension between Blake and Baldoni had turned from artistic to adversarial. What followed were lawsuits, leaks, accusations, and a media storm we're watching now. In that storm, the audio became Blake's last line of defense. Her supposed proof. Her ultimate, I told you so. But just like that infamous slow dance clip, the unsealing could prove her biggest undoing. Because when the full truth comes out, the world will hear not what's been told to them, but what was actually said. And Hollywood, for all its glitz and glamour, has a brutal rule. Once you lose control of your narrative, you lose everything. Blake's legal strategy depended on secrecy, on selective leaks, on sympathy, but now the walls are collapsing. This unsealing order doesn't just expose her evidence, it exposes her strategy. Even the online tone is changing. Fan pages that once championed hashtag Stand With Blake are now cautious, hedging their language, saying let's wait for the facts. Meanwhile, the hashtag Justice for Baldoni crowd, once dismissed as fringe, is suddenly sounding more rational, more credible. Public opinion is shifting again, and this time it's moving fast. The cultural impact can't be overstated. Hollywood loves redemption arcs, but it also loves watching idols fall. The irony of it all, a woman who built her image on empowerment now accused of distorting empowerment. T itself, it's cinematic, tragic, and painfully public. And that's what makes this story so gripping. It's not just law, it's storytelling. It's about who can tell the more convincing version of the truth before the real truth speaks for itself. The most telling comment came from a legal analyst covering the case. If this audio doesn't contain a clear threat, it's over. The judge just pulled the last curtain. And that may be the real significance of this ruling. Not just for this case, but for every celebrity who's ever weaponized perception. The message is clear. Emotional storytelling won't outweigh factual transparency. So as the countdown begins for the unsealing, everyone's watching, from reporters to rival stars, from fans to industry power players. Because whatever happens next could decide not just the outcome of this lawsuit, but the future of Blake Lively's standing in Hollywood. If the tape backs her up, she wins vindication. If it doesn't, she loses everything she's fought to protect. And maybe that's why her silence now feels louder than any statement. Because sometimes when the evidence is about to speak, the smartest move is to stop talking. When the courtroom doors opened that morning, the air felt heavier than usual, like everyone inside could sense something irreversible was about to happen. The unsealing of Blake Lively's audio wasn't just a procedural step. It was a symbolic event. The moment truth and illusion would finally collide. For months, the mystery recording was Blake's ace. The weapon she claimed would prove that she had been harassed, manipulated, and threatened by the forces aligned with Justin Baldoni. But when the judge signed that final order, when the clerk uploaded the redacted transcript for public access, the noise outside became deafening. Everyone wanted to know one thing. What's really on the tape? The headlines hit like lightning bolts across the entertainment world. Blake Lively's secret audio finally unsealed. Judge rejects confidentiality, demands transparency. Did Blake fabricate evidence? Within hours, every entertainment outlet from Variety to TMZ had their own version of the story, each spinning it to suit their tone. But one thing remained consistent. Something about Blake's narrative wasn't adding up anymore. The so-called threat audio, according to the official transcript, contained no direct verbal threat. No screaming. No intimidation. No malice. Just a calm, somewhat tense exchange between two professionals, Steve Sowitz and another unnamed individual, discussing production logistics and damage control over misleading stories. That was it. No mention of Blake. No warning. No threat. Just an uncomfortable, but fundamentally benign, conversation that her team had painted as something else entirely. The revelation was explosive. For a woman who had built her recent public identity on a narrative of being cornered and victimized, this discovery struck deep. Blake's credibility, once her most powerful weapon, suddenly turned into her biggest liability. And in Hollywood, perception is power. Within 24 hours, social media turned into a digital courtroom of its own. Hashtags like hashtag unseal the truth and hashtag justice for Baldoni trended worldwide. Even Taylor Swift's fan base, a group notoriously loyal to the actress through years of friendship, was divided. Swifties who once flooded Blake's posts with hearts and emojis were now posting cryptic comments. "We supported you because we believed you. Tell us the truth, Blake. Taylor defended you, and now this?" The silence from Blake's camp only made things worse. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, ever the strategist, maintained his composure. No social media posts, no statements, no gloating. His lawyers spoke for him. "We've said from the beginning that facts would speak louder than fiction. We're relieved the truth is finally public." It was short, calm, devastating. Because in Hollywood, the one who stays silent after a win always looks stronger. And Baldoni looked like a man who had played the long game and just watched it pay off. Industry analysts immediately began dissecting how this happened. PR experts explained how celebrity legal teams often rely on emotional storytelling to control narratives. Not because it's true, but because it's effective. It's a formula, one crisis consultant told Deadline. You file something explosive, leak selective details to sympathetic outlets, and frame yourself as the victim before the other side can respond. The public assumes guilt before the facts even surface. And in this case, that strategy worked for a while. Blake's original lawsuit had painted Baldoni as an aggressor, Steve Sawitz as a corrupt enabler, and herself as a whistleblower caught in a moral storm. But now, with the evidence unsealed, the moral storm looked more like manipulation disguised as empowerment. The backlash spread fast. Corevanta debated it, podcasts analyzed it, and even YouTube commentators turned the case into serialized breakdowns. Was Blake lively misled by her own team? Asked one commentator. Did she stage a legal narrative? Asked another. The once golden image of America's sweetheart had morphed into a headline magnet for all the wrong reasons. And in the background, Taylor Swift's name began to resurface. Not because she was involved in the case, but because of the quiet whispers that she'd supported Blake during the early stages of this legal drama. Insiders claimed Taylor had privately donated to a legal defense fund and even advised Blake's PR team to control the story early. But as soon as the unsealed audio proved hollow, Taylor's inner circle reportedly pulled back, refusing to make any public comment. That silence spoke volumes. Because Taylor Swift, the queen of calculated public image, knows better than anyone how reputation warfare works. She's mastered it, weaponizing timing, silence, and symbolism. And for someone like her to distance herself from Blake now, that's not just a friend stepping back. It's a strategic retreat. The two women, once considered Hollywood's most glamorous BFFs, hadn't been photographed together for weeks. Even the fan-favorite girls' nights were quietly canceled. In a world of optics, that's all the confirmation people needed. Blake's defenders tried to fight back. A few celebrity columnists, likely briefed by her team, argued that the audio had been taken out of context and that the emotional tone still implied intimidation. But the public wasn't buying it. The transcript was public. Anyone could read it, and nowhere did it justify her original claims. Lawyers close to the case noted that filing misleading evidence could have serious legal consequences, including sanctions. One insider told Variety, "The court doesn't take kindly to false representations. If it's proven that she intentionally mischaracterized the recording, her credibility is effectively destroyed, not just in this case, but in any future litigation." The consequences rippled outward. Brands that had partnerships with Blake began reviewing their contracts. A high-end cosmetics label reportedly paused a campaign set to launch in November, citing reputational review. Netflix, which had been in early talks for a Blake-led limited series, quietly stopped negotiations. Hollywood may forgive controversy, but it doesn't forgive deceit. And yet, even as the walls began closing in, Blake's PR team wasn't giving up. According to leaked internal emails, her advisors discussed pivoting the narrative, framing her as a victim of media misrepresentation instead of a manipulative plaintiff. The plan was simple: shift blame to the press, cry foul, and create a sympathy resurgence. But as one strategist bluntly put it in an internal message later leaked to Reddit, the public won't forgive another reframe. Not after seeing the transcript. Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, used the opportunity to reframe himself as a case study in integrity. He gave a quiet, measured interview with a respected journalist, not a gossip outlet, but a serious publication. "I've been in this business long enough to know how perception can be weaponized," he said softly. "This wasn't just about me. It was about how truth gets buried when emotion takes center stage." That quote went viral within hours, painting Baldoni as the mature, grounded counterpoint to Blake's theatricality. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man accused of manipulation now looked like the one person not playing games. The judge's reaction was equally telling. Legal experts noted that the court's tone had shifted sharply. The judge reportedly criticized both parties for the media spectacle, but reserved harsher words for Blake's filings. In one remark quoted by reporters, he said, "The court is not a stage. It is not a tool for publicity." Those words echoed across social platforms, framed as a direct rebuke to celebrity culture's growing tendency to treat justice like entertainment. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift's involvement, or lack thereof, continued to spark speculation. Some claimed she had unfollowed Blake on social media, though others pointed out the follow still remained. But insiders in the Swift circle told People magazine that Taylor was blindsided by the developments and deeply uncomfortable with how things were handled. For someone as meticulous about her image as Taylor, being indirectly tied to a potential false narrative scandal is the last thing she'd allow. That distance wasn't personal, it was strategic survival. And that's where the story takes a darker turn, because Blake, for the first time, found herself isolated. Hollywood is a city built on alliances, and when those alliances sense instability, they dissolve fast. Friends stop calling. Collaborators go dark. Invitations disappear. It's not malice, it's preservation. No one wants to be associated with a sinking ship. And Blake could feel it happening in real time. Even her social media reflected the shift. Her posts, once filled with witty captions and confident charm, turned strangely quiet. No playful comments, no subtle jabs, no reposts from Taylor or mutuals. Just silence. Fans began speculating. Was she advised to stay offline? Was she planning a comeback video? Was she negotiating a settlement behind the scenes? Theories piled up. Some even suggested a secret reconciliation meeting between her and Baldoni's lawyers. A quiet attempt to end the war before it destroyed both of them. If that's true, it would make sense. Because by this stage, the legal damage wasn't just reputational, it was financial. Sources close to the case hinted that the court could impose fines or even refer the matter for review if it's found that evidence was deliberately misrepresented. For an actress used to multi-million-dollar paychecks, that might not sound devastating. But for her brand, it's fatal. The term unreliable witness doesn't fade easily. Not in Hollywood. Not in the court of public opinion. And so, as October rolled in and the buzz began to fade, what remained was the sound of consequences. Blake's empire, built on charm, empathy, and control, was fracturing, while Justin Baldoni's quiet dignity was slowly being vindicated. It wasn't a victory speech. It was something subtler, reputation by endurance. He had waited. He had endured. And now, the truth had done the work for him. The final twist, though, is what keeps everyone watching. Rumors are circulating that another sealed document, not audio this time, but a written statement, exists. One that could further expose the communications between Blake's legal advisors and PR team, showing how the narrative was constructed behind the scenes. If that document ever sees daylight, it could confirm what many now suspect, that this was less about justice and more about image warfare gone wrong. Hollywood thrives on reinvention, but redemption comes only after accountability. And right now, Blake Lively's story stands at the crossroads, between denial and honesty, between illusion and truth. The unsealed audio didn't just unmask her narrative. It unmasked an entire industry's addiction to control. For fans, this isn't just entertainment, it's a reckoning. A reminder that in a world where every public figure crafts their own version of reality, sometimes the most shocking plot twist is the truth itself.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel Corevanta for more updates. With Sardar Zuriat Abbas Khan Mashari.